New comic book day is almost here again, so let's take a look at the books on my pull list. Welcome back to Comics Are Dope. I'm BJ Kicks, and this is a special late night edition of the pull list. Now, I don't know when I'm putting this out. I might put it up tonight, I might put it up tomorrow, but I'm filming this at like 10 p.m. on Monday night. It's been a long day. I dropped my daughter off for her first day of high school. And that statement just makes me feel super old. But anyway, I was out of town this weekend for a family reunion, had a great time. You didn't come here to hear about that, but hey, it's my channel. Anyway, let's talk about the comics that I'm looking forward to this Wednesday, August 7th, first week of the month, and it is a stacked one. Now, this week is the first time this has ever happened. I could not decide on the book that I was most excited for. So it's a tie. It's a tie. And even though it's a tie, I got to talk about one before I talk about the other, right? Like there can only be one first book on the list. And so I'm going to give it to the new number one coming out this week. This is Uncanny X-Men, issue number one, written by Gail Simone, with art by David Marquez. Is it David Marquez? I think that's his name. But this is the brand new start for the flagship X-Men title, the Uncanny X-Men, issue number one of the From the Ashes era of X-Men comics. Now, if you've been following things, well, Krakoa fell. That's a thing that happened. But we are rising from the ashes. So if you've been checking out any of the other titles, X Force number one came out last week. I really enjoyed that. But we've also had NYX. We've had X-Men by Jed McKay. And I think those are the only ones I've checked out so far. But it's clear from each of those titles that we are basically picking up. It's unclear how many months after the fall of Krakoa, but we're basically picking up from where Krakoa left off. So you don't have to have read any of the Krakoa stuff. Just know that it happened, and these books are going to catch you up to whatever you need to know to get into this new era. It's a brand new jumping on point. What I'm excited about for this one is the mutants are back to being hated and feared, and they're back walking amongst the regular society. And so everything that comes with that, the remnants of Orcus and other anti-mutant organizations that have been springing up in the months since, are all a danger. And we've got different teams of mutants based in different places. And that brings us to this title. Uncanny X-Men is set in New Orleans, Louisiana, if I remember correctly. But what's got me really excited about this book, besides the fact that Gail Simone's writing it and David Marquez is drawing it, because that stuff looks amazing. Uh, but besides all of that, I'm really excited about the team, which includes, I want to say, Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Rogue, Gambit. Maybe Wolverine's not on the team? Yeah, he is. He's on the cover. Nightcrawler, Wolverine, Rogue, Gambit, and there are other people that I don't honestly remember. I'm very excited about Rogue and Gambit's inclusion on this team because in the Krakoa era, Rogue and Gambit were both in Excalibur, which was a magic based book, and I'm not big on magic, so I haven't read a lot of Rogue or Gambit since I got into comics 5 years ago. So I'm really excited to see their roles on the team, and apparently this run is going to level Gambit up in a couple of ways, and so that's exciting news, sugar. That was a terrible rogue. But anyway, the point is Uncanny X-Men number one is out this week. It's got top billing as most excited on the pull list for a cover price of $5.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the only other book that I am as excited about as that one is this next one, and that is the Avengers, issue number 17. Avengers, written by Jed McKay, and art taking over on art duties this issue is Valerio Schiti. Valerio Schiti, who you may remember most recently from Gods with Jonathan Hickman. And if you didn't read that, check out my review. It's up on the channel, and you'll see how great that art is. X-Men fans might remember him from Inferno, Jonathan Hickman's Inferno, at least the first issue, if not more than that. He's been doing other stuff here and there as well, The point is, his art's amazing, but that's not why I'm excited about this book, although that's a good reason to be excited. I'm excited about Avengers issue 17. As you'll know, you might remember I dropped off Avengers at like issue 9, but I decided to pick it back up because Storm is joining the team. I didn't mean to bury the lead right there, but you saw her on the cover. Storm. Storm is joining the Avengers. Now, Storm, I don't know. She's in my top 5 black superheroes of all time. She might be like my second or third favorite Marvel character. It's Black Panther, Wolverine, Storm. Like, those are probably it. And then Spider-Man is somewhere in there. Miles Morales, Spider-Man at this point. Because anyway, the point is, Storm is getting the much deserved attention, well earned attention that she deserves. The point is, she's joining the Avengers, the premier super team in Marvel Comics. And hey, for as long as they're going to give a Storm a spotlight, I'm going to grab the books where she's spotlighted. So, Avengers number 17 by Jed McKay. There is also an upcoming ongoing Storm series that's coming up. So, I'm excited about that as well. Between Avengers and the Storm title, we eating good, Storm fans. We're eating good. Well, I assume we're going to. We'll find out when this issue comes out. Cover price on it is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And since we're talking about Marvel Comics, I talked about the 2 I'm most excited about. Let's keep going down the list with The Spectacular Spider-Men, issue number 6, written by Greg Weisman with art by Humberto Ramos. I gotta say, if you're not buying this book, buy the book. Because the art by Humberto Ramos is just amazing to look at. Peter and Miles are both in this book, if you didn't know, and they've been pit against each other. I don't want to say more than that, but they've been in this fight against each other. Who's going to prevail? Is this title going to turn into the Spectacular Spider-Man? Because one's going to win and one's going to lose? I don't know. The solicit wants you to ask yourself that question. Chances are they're both going to survive. But hey, what do I know? I just read comics. Spectacular Spider-Man, issue number 6. Cover price on it is $3.99. I'm grabbing cover A. And the last book on the Marvel pull list this week is Ultimate Black Panther, issue number 7. Now, I feel like I just bought issue number 6, like literally right before I went out of town last week. So I guess that means something happened in the schedule and we got bi-weekly issues of Ultimate Black Panther. I'm not complaining or anything. Not complaining at all, because I love this series. Written by Brian Edward Hill, art by Stefano Caselli. Love it. Love it. Love it. But I tend to read these issues closer to the date the next book comes out. So now I'm behind. I haven't read issue 6. But issue 7's coming out. Cover price on it is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. That's the last book on the Marvel Comics pull list. As long as I stick to the list, those will cost me $19 this week. Not bad. Not a bad week for Marvel. Let's move on to the distinguished competition. See what's popping at DC Comics with Absolute Power, issue number 2. Absolute Power, written by Mark Waid with art by Dan Mora and colors. Cannot forget to shout out those colors by Alejandro Sanchez. They really add a dimension to Dan Mora's work that I had not seen before. Dan Mora is Dan Mora, and he would be Dan Mora no matter who's coloring him. But I'm so used to seeing this sort of animation-inspired, almost flat colors that we've seen on like Once and Future and everything else Dan Mora drew, World's Finest, things like that. But the way Alejandro Sanchez colors Dan Mora, it just makes it feel cinematic in a way that a event comic deserves to be seen. Like, I'm not buying the tie-ins for this series. I don't plan to, at least. I'm just going to stick to the 4 issues of Absolute Power. But I cannot wait until they release the Absolute Power Omnibus. It's got to be coming at some point next week. Like, we're getting a night next year. We're getting a Night Terrors Omnibus. So we got to get an Absolute Power Omnibus, right? We got a Dark Knight's Metal. We got a Death Metal. There's plenty of precedent. All the events get Omnis at some point. I can't wait to read this story in that full context with all the tie-ins. I just don't want to do that in singles. But the point is, the art in this book is phenomenal, and Mark Waid knows how to create really, really high stakes. These heroes don't have powers, and that's crazy. Absolute Power, issue number 2. I loved issue 1. Issue 2 is out this week. Cover price is $4.99. Grabbing cover A. Next up is Batman issue 151. I said I wasn't buying all the tie-ins, but I am buying all the series that I'm already subscribed to. So Batman issue 151 is an Absolute Power tie-in. This time Batman is fighting the Suicide Squad. At least that's what the solicit says. I was trying to remember what happened in Batman issue 150, and I don't remember like which part was the main story, which part was the backup. All I remember is the Dennis Cowan story, where basically there's this dude that figures out Batman's secret identity, and he goes around trying to sell the secret to somebody, but nobody's dumb enough to buy it from him. And I just love Dennis Cowan's artwork in that issue, but I don't remember how it tied into Absolute Power. And so anyway, the point is this issue ties into Absolute Power somehow, and it's got a cover price of $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. This one's got art by Mike Hawthorne, by the way, not Jorge Jimenez. Uh, by the way, I saw Mike Hawthorne at GalaxyCon Raleigh, and I didn't speak. And I didn't speak because I don't know, I didn't want to be recognized as the guy, like, oh yeah, you're that guy that's disappointed when I take over for Jorge Jimenez. And I'm like, yeah, I wouldn't want to be that guy. But when I was walking by Mike's table, he's got all these illustrations, his portfolio, original art and stuff for sale. And those drawings look so amazing without inks. I wonder if the issue I have with Mike Hawthorne's art is just that he's got the wrong inker. The lines are too heavy, therefore, stuff doesn't convey the movement that I would want to see in a comic. And that's crazy how much an inker can make or break in art. That is such an aside. But the point is, Mike Hawthorne's art is not as bad as like my brain says it is. Because I watched it. I saw it with my own eyes and it looked great. Anyway, cover price is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. That's the only book, or those are the 2 books on the DC Comics pull list. They're going to cost me $10 this week. And let's skip on over to the indies, where there's quite a few books on the pull list this week, starting with Ain't No Grave, issue number 4. To be quite honest, I kind of forgot this book was coming out. Thankfully, I double-checked League of Comic Geeks before I pressed record. I don't remember issue 3. I don't remember if I read issue 3, which is usually not a good thing, but I got way too many books on the list. The last issue I read, I believe, was number 2, and I enjoyed it very much. I love our protagonist. I love the Western vibe. I love It sounds so wrong. I love how violent this book gets. And I don't know, a fun indie comic. Ain't No Grave, issue number 4. Cover price on it is $3.99. We're watching this woman, former outlaw, go and try to fight death itself. $3.99 is the cover price. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up is a brand new number 1 from Oni Press. This is Cruel Universe, issue number 1. A couple weeks ago, I told you about how EC Comics was coming back and they did a big horror book. And horror is not my thing, but I would hold out for the sci-fi anthology they got coming out. And this is it. Cruel Universe, issue number 1. I really love this Greg Smallwood cover, but Cruel Universe being a collection of sci-fi tales, one of which is written by Matt Kent. Not crazy familiar with the other writers on this anthology, but excited to see what they bring to the table. So cover price on it is $4.99, and I'm grabbing cover A. Next up, Hercules, issue number 4. It was actually moved from last week to this week. So I talked about it last week, and I guess I'm talking about it this week. Hercules, written by Elliot Kalin, art by George Cambadeas of Gargoyles fame. Great book, funny book, and we're 4 issues in. Can you tell I'm not caught up? No, just forget I even said that. Great book. Cover price on it is $4.99. I'm grabbing cover A. Next up, another issue number 4. This is Space Ghost, issue number 4, written by David Pepose with art by Jonathan Lau. And I got to tell you, man, I read issue 4 already. Thanks to David for sending it over for review. But there's nothing I can say about this book that I haven't said already that's going to make you buy it. But I just love how this series is shaping up so far. It does very much feel like a Batman story if Batman was like more cosmic. You know how like we always see Batman in the Justice League in space and we're like, why is he here? He has no powers. He has no business in space. Well, Space Ghost has a lot of business in space. It's half of his name. And he definitely does remind me a lot of Batman. Uh, and probably mostly because he's got these sidekicks, Jan, Jace, and Blip. But what I love about Space Ghost is Space Ghost comes off a lot more fatherly than Batman does in most situations. I can't say anything more about this book without spoiling the plot for issue 4, but I will let you know it is the first issue in a two-parter featuring Zorak. And I have really loved getting to know this series and these characters through this book and not Space Ghost Coast to Coast. But Zorak was that Mantis dude that was like the sort of late night banter guy on Coast to Coast. Uh, and I got to imagine that the sort of dark and edgy and grittiness that we get in this book was not something that existed in the 1960s show. So this book really does feel like a sort of perfect introduction to who Space Ghost is, especially if you're a more, not necessarily mature reader, but adult reader, an appreciator of more adult contemporary things. I had great words and then I lost them all. Space Ghost number 4 out this week. Cover price is $4.99. Grabbing cover A. And the last book on the pull list this week is The Walking Dead Deluxe, issue number 94. It's The Walking Dead in color with annotations and cardstock covers. Speaking of, I really love that one by David Finch. Something about the yellow background just really sings for me. Issue 94 out this week. Cover price is $3.99. Grabbing cover A. That's it. Those are the indie books on the pull list this week. As long as I stick to the list, those will cost me $23. And it means we're at a grand total of it's kind of steep, but it's $52 this week. Now, that's before taxes and before my 10% subscriber discount. So it looks like I'm going to squeak by just hitting my limit after the discount of $50. But hey, I guess technically Hercules was a book that was supposed to come out last week, so kind of some of last week's budget should be buffering this week's, but we'll see. There are quite a few books coming out this week that I think should be on your radar, though, so let's run through these number ones rapid fire style. From Marvel Comics, we got Blood Hunters, issue number 1, following a bunch of people in the Marvel Universe after the events of Blood Hunt. And I have tried very hard not to spoil a plot point featuring a certain Spider-Man, but gosh, does Marvel want you to know that thing that I keep trying not to spoil. So don't look too hard at the cover or you'll be spoiled. That's the only reason I'd be interested in this book is Miles Morales and what's going on with him. Quite frankly, I don't care about any of the other characters, especially including Hallows Eve. Maybe I shouldn't say it like that. But anyway, next up, that one's got a cover price of $4.99, by the way. Next up is Garfield, issue number 1 from Boom Studios, the Kaboom Kids line at Boom Studios. Did you know that there was a Garfield movie that came out like months ago? Because I didn't know that, and I can't be the only one that had no idea a Garfield movie came and went from the box office. Did you? Because I didn't. I keep saying that. The point is, this is the tie-in comic. $4.99 on that. Next up from Marvel, Spider-Man, Black Suit and Blood. You know, I wasn't interested in this until I read the solicit just to give you information about it. But it's another one of those black, white, and blood type, issues, spot colors, blah, blah, blah. The gimmick, okay? The gimmick. But the creative teams on this, just some of the names. J.M. DeMatteis, J. Michael Straczynski, Elena Casagrande. Like, those are just 3 names. That's crazy. Is that not crazy to you? That's an all-star lineup. It's a book that I gotta see. And hey, a 4-issue mini, different names every time. Greg Weisman's got a story in the next issue. And I'm talking myself into this book, even though I already told you I hit my budget limit. $5.99 on that. I should wait for the eventual Treasury edition that most of these books get, but I'm probably going to buy that issue. Next up, by the way, there is an facsimile edition of the Uncanny X-Men issue 266, first appearance of Gambit, who, you know, in a bit of serendipity, is making an appearance in X-Men number one, Uncanny X-Men number one this week. So if you can't get enough Gambit, get Gambit in the past and Gambit in the present. $4.99 is cover price on that facsimile. And the last book on the radar, Marvel is really hitting us with new number ones this week. Venom War, issue number one. Venom War. Venom is a title I fell off of completely a long time ago. Like maybe 5 issues in to the Ram V and Al Ewing run. Ram V left the title a while back. It's just been Al Ewing in the driver's seat, and Al Ewing is a great writer. Love him on X-Men Red. I just was not interested in Venom. The only time I've been interested in Venom was the Donny Cates run, and what I really loved about that run was the relationship between Dylan Brock and his, am I spoiling this? Father, Eddie Brock. And well, that's coming front and center in this Venom War event because the Venom symbiote has been a part of both of these Brock gentlemen. Now they're fighting for control over it or something. I don't know. That sounds super interesting. What really has me interested in this book, I said rapid fire. I'm talking about all these books at length. But what really has me interested in this book is the fact that Iban Coelho is drawing it. And if his interiors are anything like this cover that he also drew, I gotta see it. It just looks really cool. Even though I don't do symbiotes. I keep saying that, but if you make it look cool enough, I guess I'll buy it. $5.99 is the cover price on that. Those are all the books on the radar. And if I'm not careful, I'm gonna blow past my budget this week. Let me know though, which books are on your radar this week? What are you most excited to read? Ultimate Black Panther is definitely going at the top, in the top three. It's gonna be on Uncanny X-Men, Avengers, which I expect I'm gonna be a bit lost on Avengers, but Storm will be in it, so that'll be cool. Then it'll be on Ultimate Black Panther, and probably the rest of those indies. I love Space Ghost. I can't wait to see that in person. By the way, I said I was buying the cover A on Space Ghost. I lied. I always get the Michael Cho covers, and I'm sad that issue 5 is going to be his last one, but I'm getting the Michael Cho cover D. And maybe I'll even edit the video to show that, but I don't know. Probably not. See you guys in another video real soon. Till then, stay safe, stay awesome, and read something dope today. Peace.